So our next story is in regards to Gary Vaynerchuk. So Gary Vaynerchuk just recently was on a podcast and nonchalantly just threw out there that he thought homeownership was BS, and that right now if he had to make the decision he would just rent. He didn't see the value in it. So I think that got taken out of context a little bit by everybody, and it's not based on what he said, but if you know and follow GaryVee and kind of like how his mindset is, like I could understand it because I'm actually in a position right now where I'm still renting because I'm building a business, so I get it. Some of his numbers were off. He said, why would you spend $200,000 to $300,000 for a down payment on a house? So the guy lives in Manhattan, obviously. I mean, everything out there is like 3 or 4 million. But locally, you can buy a house with 0% down, 3.5% down, 5% down. The average price where we're at, it's like $300,000. Right. So with $10,000, $15,000, you can make that investment and get into a property. And it really comes down to what is your market. So I know the rental market's really slim. Here at the Jersey Shore, there really isn't many options. Like, you're not going to be happy if you're hunting for a rental to get into something long term. You're not going to be happy with the options because, number one, you're going to pay more monthly for a rental. Even if you would pay 5% versus a rental, like, you'll get ahead with the mortgage. But it's got to be long term. Like, you can't get into a mortgage in a house and thinking like 3 years that I'm going to flip this and I'm going to make all this money. Like, I tell all my clients, whatever you buy, it's got to be 7 years, because if you're not going to be in there for 7 years, it doesn't really make sense. If you got to see me and you again, it's going to cost you. A $300,000 purchase. You could probably get into a house for like $20,000, but when you go to sell that $300,000 home and then go buy another one, now it's going to cost you like $35,000 to make that move. So if you don't pay down a good amount of principal, that's going to eat into your equity, and I don't want to see that. I want buyers to accumulate wealth through real estate, and this is more so for buyers that are stable. If you're not stable in your business, if you don't have that 9 to 5 making that solid salary, and if you are an entrepreneur, I would have the same advice. Don't buy, because your money right now is based on the economy, and if that shifts left or right, that's going to affect your ability to keep putting money into the system in order to grow. So for me, I came out of a bad market. I sold my house. I had to downsize on payment. And this goes back to 2007, 2008. That's right. We've been in the game for a long time. So, and I have no problems with it, because I know like where I want to move. I need big money for a down payment, and we're putting that money back into the business. So,
right. I think Justin hit the nail on the head before. It's really market specific, right? You have to know your market and really drill down even deeper into your market. Your market's not New Jersey or Ocean County or Monmouth County. It has to be certain pockets of those counties, because there's a lot of volatility, a lot of movement, there's a lot of differences. So, for example, in the rental market, as Justin alluded to, our rental market is extremely hot right now. Any decent rental that's on the market, you'll have 20 applications in the first week. It's just moving at that pace. So that tells you how the rental market is right now. But because of that demand, that high rental demand, I've been able to work with potential renters that have become buyers, because once we were able to speak to a mortgage representative and really run the numbers and find out, okay, even at the lowest down payment that would be possible for them, and they're renting rent versus buy options, it actually was beneficial or almost equal to renting to possibly buy. And I was actually able to convert several last year from renters to buyers because of that math. Now, that doesn't work for everybody, okay? So we don't want to say that that's the magic formula for everybody, but it is something to consider, obviously, in specific markets. Some may be better for you, and also your own personal financial situation, as Justin alluded to, is the biggest factor of all. Is it more strategic for you to rent right now and just have some liquidity and flexibility if you're investing in a business or if you have other long-term goals? Or are you looking to be in a certain market for the long haul and you're willing to do a long-term lease? Well, in that case, maybe it is a good opportunity to look at a potential purchase as well. You could look at the market factors. Always have to speak to an agent that knows the market factors, do a trend analysis, find out exactly what we're looking at now, but maybe in the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years, to see where you may end up. Because as Justin said, if you're going to get into it, you need to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. The right reasons are you want to be where you want to live, you want to be in a good school district for your kids, you want to build equity. Okay, equity is the most important thing. If you have to upsize or downsize at that time, you don't want to have to write out a huge check to a realtor for a commission if you don't have that equity built up. So make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Timing is right for you. That's where somebody like us comes in. We could walk you through that, and I'm sure a lot of you out there are having the same situations and conversations with your clients too. And it would be interesting to see, what type of feedback that you could comment on. Have you had success with renters becoming buyers, or buyers that have analyzed the market and decided to become renters instead based on the market and their own situation?
Yeah, you touched on a lot of good points there. Me specifically, personally, during that time I've bought and sold some real estate, flipped some real estate. But, for me, it's my kids, it's the stability, the school system they want to be in. And, there's some things going on in my area with new buyers moving in, which has made it very difficult for me to stay in my school system and purchase what I want.
Right.
So for me, it's like, all right, well, now I gotta go 4 more years, and then, hopefully by that time, I can make the move that I want to make. So, but in the interim, I'm reinvesting all the money back into my business, so I completely get it. I know why a lot of agents are mad, because, Gary does cater to a lot of realtors follow him, so they hear that and they're like, yo, bro, like, what did you do that for? Like, everybody's going to hear this.
Stop raining on our parade.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, is that I think they fail to realize that, Gary's following is more the entrepreneur base, right. So that information, was really him saying, like, this is for me. Like, I think Gary underestimates his power. Right. You know what I mean? So he was like, oh yeah, like only like 0.0001% are actually going to take this and do something with it. I disagree. I think that, more buyers will hear that message and have that second thought, but that's good. People do need to think for themselves. You don't need to say like, hey, like I have to buy a house just because. If you're building a business, if you're not at a point where you paid off a lot of your debt, or mostly all of your debt, then yeah, you should be looking at possibly renting, taking that extra money, paying down your debt, but if you have a lot of funds, and if like I can get into something and be comfortable, then it makes sense. So, it all depends on the person. So that's what we're here to help you and give you some advice. I've told people, you're not ready yet. Yep. You're buying something short term that doesn't really make sense, because, long term, it's not going to be something you can build equity if you're going to look to sell it in 3 years. And if you didn't do like massive improvements to bring up the value, and even doing massive improvements, it doesn't always correlate to the market. It just depends on the situation. So, that's part of what I love about this job.
That's it. Don't be afraid to show them an amortization table as well. Absolutely. Scare them straight.
That's it. So that's it on this one. If you have any comments or questions or anything, feel free to drop them in. Make it a great day.
Take care.